All right, everyone, welcome back to the Mass Swingers. You're here with Brian,
And Layla.
and this is not a planned episode of the Mass Swingers. We usually
Mm-mm.
record on Thursdays. Just so you know, today's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday morning, and I plan on doing something else with my life today. But then I got a call from Layla, and she said, "I got to talk. I pull the mask out. We need to talk about some stuff that happened this weekend."
Mhm.
And just for some background, Layla, if you don't mind, I got a text from you on Saturday. I want to
Mhm.
say
Mhm.
on Saturday. Layla's asked me what I'm doing. I live in LA. Layla's in Palm Springs, 2 hours from LA. She is actively trying to convince me to come to Palm Springs to some
Mhm.
what was it? It was like a house. You and a bunch of friends were there hanging out. Layla,
Yeah, it was a
paint the
beautiful
picture.
house. There was like three houses on this property, two pools. It was huge. There was like, gosh, maybe like 15 couples total, so like 30 people. It was a lot of people. Mostly people that I've met like here and there, mostly kind of acquaintances, a couple of homies, but like more so acquaintances. And it was a Discord party. So one of our other girlfriends has another Discord server. She was like, "Hey, who wants to go to Palm Springs? Who wants to party?" And then, that's where people kind of signed up.
Exactly, right? And so Layla's sending me these messages and she's like, "Hey, could you come here? Could you come fuck?" Layla, can I just read some of the messages I got
Go
from
for
you
it.
this day? Okay.
Yep.
Some of the message, you can come here and fuck me. I asked if someone was there. You said, "Yeah, come here and fuck her too."
Hmm.
You know? Then I have never begged for a cock in my life. Please come here, all caps. I'm so horny. I'll let you do whatever you want. These are
Hmm.
real. I'm like, this is word for word.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. I wanted it. I wanted it, but I wanted someone that I was like comfortable with, that I knew the sex felt good, someone that I was like attracted to, because like they were all attractive people, right? But I wasn't very attracted to a lot of the people that went. And I was hoping I was going to go there, find someone, and kind of crush a little. Like, I thought that'd be kind of fun to play this little like cat and mouse game with someone and kind of give eyes to someone. And I just couldn't really connect with anybody. And I'm sure a lot of it was like my own doing and like my own anxieties. I also went into this weekend like completely sober. And perhaps like if other substances were involved, maybe I would have, you know, had an easier time connecting to people, but that's not what I wanted to do either. So, yeah, I'm laying in bed. I've been in the pool all morning, and I'm laying in bed, and I'm super horny, and I want something that I know is going to be good, right?
Hmm.
So I text Brian, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Get over here. I'm comfortable with you. The chemistry is great. Like, I know that would have been a really fun time, you know."
Yeah, you're like, it's only 2 hours away. Like, it's only 115 degrees. It's not
It's like not a
like
big deal. Like, just stop what you're doing. I don't
Venus hot.
like quit
Exactly.
your job. I don't know. Like, just make me a priority, and you didn't, and that's okay.
I represent a two-man team, and
uh,
my woman was not down to go to. It was so hot where we were. We could not imagine going somewhere hotter, right?
it was hot,
And I don't mean hotter like the people are hotter. I just meant
right?
it was scorching hot.
It was really hot.
Um, but anyway, you texted me a couple minutes later, and you said you had a health thing come up anyway, right?
Yeah. So like I earlier that morning I went underwater and I heard a pop in my ear, and I came back up and like I thought it was just water, and I kind of get it out, and most of it came out, but there was like a little bit of water left. So I used a Q-tip, which I know Q-tips are bad, and I was like trying to clear the rest of the water out, and I pushed something deeper into my ear, and it was completely clogged. And at first I was like, okay, like no big deal. Eventually it'll go away, right? It's getting to the point where like it's starting to like pulse, and I'm like, this is starting to get painful. So for about 5 or 6 hours, I'm looking up TikTok videos, I'm Googling, I'm chat GPT, like how do I get like this water out of my ear? This is driving me crazy. It's starting to mess up my equilibrium. It's starting to make me nauseous. I'm pulling on my ear. My ear's still red and raw, so I'm pulling on my ears. I had some people that went and got me like eardrops. Didn't work. Cody went back out. Hydrogen peroxide, alcohol, everything. We tried everything you could imagine. One of our friends even like he even put his entire mouth around my ear and like sucked really hard to try to get something to
Yeah,
move, and
yeah.
nothing for 6 hours. I was in agony. So
Did you try the
everyone seemed
candle? Did anyone suggest the candle?
No, what?
You haven't heard like the earwax candles?
Oh, I've seen those, but no one recommended that.
Oh,
I
okay.
forgot that that was a thing. So, um, after hours of agony, I was like, the play party's happening in 2 hours, right? And I'm looking up urgent cares. Everything is closed. I call the emergency room. They're like, yep, there's no wait. And I'm like, great. So I rush over there and they're like, oh, it's going to be like a 2 to 6 hour wait.
Do you go
And
by
I'm like,
yourself or did you
yeah,
take?
I went by
Okay.
myself. Like some friends had
Okay.
offered to go, Cody had offered to go, but I was like, no, like I don't, just to sit there and stare at me in the waiting room? Like we don't need to do that. So I sit there forever and it was an awful scene. It was so bad. It was a teeny tiny hospital, teeny tiny waiting room. People are walking in and they're like, I think I have COVID. And then they sit down next to me and I'm like, oh my fucking God. People are throwing up on the floor. There's babies in there screaming and crying. And I'm panicking because I also suffer with claustrophobia. And so like this being stuck in my ear, I'm freaking out. Right. And the nurse that saw me prior was like, yeah, it could be earwax. It could be water. It could be a bug. And I was like, it could be a bug. So I'm losing my fucking shit. Finally, I see the doctor after forever. He flushes it out. It feels so good. I was like, I wanted to bring the device to the play party because like what they flushed me out with, it felt so good and it like tickled my brain and it was amazing. And then I was like, okay, I'm good. I've been horny all day. Like I finally feel better. I'm going back to the play party. So by this time, the play party had been going on for like 2 hours and they were playing games, which was really cute. They were playing these like kind of like Love Island kissing games, which was super cute. And so I get there and I open the door and, like I'm no makeup, sweats, like I was miserable, like I was not cute. I walk into this play party and everybody, like 30 people, they all stop what they're doing, stand and applaud. It was the cutest thing. I walked
That's
in,
cute.
everyone's like, yay, Layla feels better. Super cute. I was exhausted. I think from like the pain and the anxiety and just being so tense. I was just so exhausted. And I get there and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to play, So I go upstairs, I take a shower, I put on some makeup, cute little outfit. I go down there. I tell Cody, take your clothes off. I want to suck your dick. So we get on the bed that's on the floor in the living room and I start sucking his dick. And people are starting to come up. People that I had, talked to prior about playing are coming up, and touching me, which again, I already kind of gave them consent to do that. But my body was like, I really don't want to be touched right now. I'm exhausted. So I gave it a fair shot and I was pretty quickly, I was like, I grabbed Cody and I was like, I just need you to fuck me in our bed, like in our room by ourselves. So we went upstairs, had sex for, not very long. And I was like, okay, let's just go downstairs, socialize. You can do whatever you want, but I think I'm just going to like sit and watch. And, and I do that for a little bit and it was fun. I am, mingling with people. I had a really hard time connecting with people. And I don't know if that was a me thing or like a them thing, but it was a lot of small talk. You know what I mean? Which I don't enjoy. And usually I'm pretty good about, okay, like I'm pretty good about connecting with people. Like, let's get deeper. Let's get a little bit more vulnerable. Like, let's get a little sexier, and I just couldn't really get there. And again, I don't know if maybe it's because I wasn't into them or whatever. And then all of a sudden, and by the way, everybody that was there, it was a, somewhat curated event, right? The host, who's wonderful and she did a great job with everything. She had a list of rules that she had sent out to every person individually. And one of the main bold rules was, do not invite anybody to this party that isn't on this list. Mm-hmm. And everybody had like agreed to the terms. Anyway, so I'm hanging out and I look over and there's these two girls. And I'm like, who the fuck are these girls? And I don't know. I mean, I was just bothered because someone obviously broke a rule, right? And so I'm like, holy shit, does the host know that these randoms showed up? So the host is sitting outside with her husband in the pool. I go outside and I sit next to her and I'm like, hey, like I'm trying not to cause a scene, right? I don't want to be like, hey, who are these bitches? And like, rile her up. So I'm like, hey, like, do you know who these girls are? And she's like, no. And she was pissed. She's like, I'm not happy. So apparently, one of the couples in there who's good friends with the host had invited one of the girls that happened to be in town. So it's not that she traveled 2 hours out of nowhere, like she just happened to be in town. That's fine. And then he went up to her and was like, hey, my friend's at the door. And the host was like, what? You know, like the host was, you know, on her own journey with stuff. And she was like, she's like, wow, way to ruin my buzz, you know? And she's like, I also don't want to make it a scene. I don't want to make drama by being like, no, they can't come. You've broken a rule, blah, blah, blah. So she's, you know, she was feeling a little, you know, uncomfortable. And she's like, okay, I guess they can come in. No introduction was made. They had walked into a full-blown play party where everybody was naked, everybody was fucking, and they just walk in, right? They're fully clothed. They're just hanging out. And so that bothered me because they were there based off of a rule break. And so I just didn't like that. Cody was feeling the same way about like not connecting with anybody. And he needs connection in order to be turned on and like have good sex with them. He starts connecting with one of the girls. So this girl brought one of her friends, which she was fine. I don't know how much I can say without like, I don't want anyone to hear this and like anyone's feelings to get hurt. But one of the girls made sense maybe to be a part of it, and maybe the other one didn't quite fit in, right? And she was like kind of annoying. I'm sure she's a great person.
Which one was annoying?
The friend of the friend.
Which one was the more fit in one?
The friend.
Can we give them letters or something so I remember which one we're talking about?
Friend is S.
Okay.
And then other friend is L.
Okay. And was L the one that was less party worthy?
Yeah. And not just by the way she looks. I mean, for example, the first thing she did when she got there, which like everybody shits, right? Everybody shits, whatever. But she comes in out of nowhere. She doesn't know anybody. She goes into the bathroom, does her thing, walks out and says to everybody, she's like, oh, no one go in there.
She said that while people were playing?
Yeah.
That's gross. I mean, she was nervous, it sounds like.
Maybe, but I'm just like, what a way to like make an entrance.
Have you taken a shit at a play party?
Yes. I can think of one time, but I was like courtesy flushing, like wet wipes, like all, like everything, you know what I mean? But to come in and to announce, first of all, that was some of the first time that people like even like acknowledged her, right? They just see some stranger be like, oh, don't go in the bathroom, you guys, I blew it up. And everyone's like, wait, what? Who is that? Whatever.
Yeah.
Cody is connecting with S in the pool. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm glad that Cody's connecting with someone. But for some reason I was annoyed. And I don't really know why I was so annoyed. But I didn't, I'll tell you. Okay, so I'm in the pool too. I swim up to them and they're talking. And I'm kind of like, you know, leaning on Cody, listening to their conversation. And she's asking questions like she's young. Like really, like she was acting like she was a very young woman. She was asking him like kind of random questions. She was like, have you ever been arrested? And he was like, yeah, like when I was younger for like drugs. And she was like, were you a drug dealer? And he was like, I mean, I, you know, dealt to my friends and stuff. And she's like, oh my God, like how much would you carry? And just like asking questions that I was like, you're annoying. And so I left. Right? So I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this conversation. She never acknowledged me either. Cody didn't introduce me. She didn't acknowledge me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go vibe somewhere else because this conversation is fucking lame. So I leave. And they're still like hardcore, like connecting. And I can tell, like I see it in Cody's eyes, like he fucking likes her. And I'm like, oh, it's so annoying. So I go upstairs and I'm rooming with another couple that's a friend of ours. And I'm like, I'm fucking annoyed, you guys. And I'm talking to them and they're like, well, you should talk to him about it or like get yourself in there and like, you know, introduce yourself. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, whatever. And so I go down there and she's sucking his dick. Like he's on one of the stairs and she's sucking his dick and she's sucking it good, dude. Like she was sucking it good. And my heart dropped. I felt like I had walked in on my husband cheating on me, is how it felt. I was so mad and like so disturbed and so uncomfortable. And I run back upstairs to my friends and I was like, she's sucking his dick. I'm fucking pissed. Like, I wanted to go in there and grab him and be like, what are you doing? Like, I wanted to yell at this girl for no reason. She did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. And I was ready to fucking like go off. So I'm telling them, I'm like, I'm fucking pissed. And I was like, they're going to have sex. They're going to have sex and I'm going to be miserable. I had no intentions of ever saying anything to him until like later in the night, right? I'm like, I'm going to let him have his fun and I'm just going to sit here and be miserable, you know? And my friends are like, no, how about you just say, hey, like, let me talk to you real quick, right? Like, pull him. I still don't know if that was the right thing to do or not. So I'm talking to them upstairs for like 10, 15 minutes. I'm freaking out. I'm like so nervous. The guy is like, do you want me to go down there with you? And I can be like, hey, Cody, I want to talk to you. I'm like, no, this is something I have to do on my own. I go downstairs and she's still sucking his dick. And I'm thinking like, God, fucking hurry up, you know? But I can see he's about to come. So I don't want to stop them because he's about to come and I can see it. So I'm watching for a second. Everybody else in the pool, there's a couple other couples and they're all hooking up. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel awkward. I'm by myself. Everybody else is hooking up and I'm very uncomfortable sitting here basically watching. So I go back inside. I go in the kitchen. I like pretend to do something. I'm like pretending that I want something out of the fridge. Like I'm fiddling with whatever. I go back out there and I'm like, okay, they're done. Right. And my intention was to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, hey, Cody, da, 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 like, let's go over here and talk. And I went, Cody. And he was like, what? And I was like, come here. Like in front of everybody. And he was like, what? And I was like, Kyle wants to tell you something, which is our friend upstairs. I was like, Kyle wants to tell you something. And he was like, okay. Like I came off very combative, but I was trying to be like the cool girl. I was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Kyle wants you. And he was like, okay. So basically like looks at her and he's like, I'll see you in a bit. I'll be right back. And he gets out and I was like, get your stuff. We're done. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, get your phone, get your clothes. Like we're fucking done. And we go back upstairs and he like takes a quick shower. He gets out and we walk to the other pool where it's just me and him. And I was like, I'm fucking pissed. He's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just fucking pissed. I was like, you don't know this girl. He's like, yeah, there's plenty of people I hook up with at parties that I don't know. I was like, oh, also to add, it was their first play party ever. Like, they're not lifestyle. They were two random girls who had never been to a play party before, and they're single. And he was like, that would never bother you at another party. If we had gone to Mystery Temple or anywhere else, like I hook up with people all the time that are single and that you don't know. And I was like, I guess you're right, And she didn't do anything wrong because she didn't know what the rules were. But I've never felt like jealousy like that before. Anytime I feel jealousy, it turns me on, right? But in this situation, I was pissed. Why am I like this? Why was I pissed? I still don't know. I'm journaling, I'm talking to friends, and I'm like, why am I so upset? Like, when you hear this, what do you think?
You don't ask me that.
Why?
Well, look, because I have a bunch of background information on this that the audience doesn't know, right? So anything I say or any question I ask right now would feel like it's coming out of the blue when I have way more context on this. Okay.
What? Because you know me and Cody.
Oh, because I know you and Cody. I know what's going on with you in your personal life. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know what you've been going through personally. I know some stuff about your relationship. I don't want to pretend like we all didn't have, just a couple of days ago, I was down with Layla and we were doing a photo shoot and we were in a bed together. And one of Layla's family members came in and served as a prop. Right? And so I'm shirtless. Layla's wearing a really hot outfit. And, Layla's, I mean, we can cut this later if you want to, Layla, but your brother's taking the photos and his fiance jumps in as a prop. So I know you intimately is what I'm saying.
Right.
And I met your mom. We talked
Right.
about plants.
For 30 minutes, y'all talked about plants.
For 30
Precious.
minutes.
Precious.
I'm a plant dad, you guys. Look, I got 2 plants behind me. I grew these from the soil, from seed. Anyway, the point is, look, when we talked last week, we said, we talked about you going to this party, going to a party this weekend, knowing that you were not the most stable going in.
Yeah.
right? With stuff going on in your life, with like substance changes that you've been making and things like that. And it's like, go like, uh, man, I talked to a buddy of mine once and I was like, play parties are not like they're not really confidence builders. They're confidence testers, if anything.
Mm,
And like, if you're insecure about your body or insecure about your penis and stuff like that, a play party is not going to help initially. Like, you
mm,
got to do that work and then go to a party. And so for you, you weren't stable.
mm.
And then you went to a place where stability really supports you because you're going to get hit by stuff that makes you insecure. And I want to go back to something you said. Usually, when you're jealous, you get turned on, but that's
Mm.
because you get jealous, but you feel secure in who you are and you feel secure in your relationship. And coming from a place of insecurity in both of those things, I can see why you would feel jealous in a different way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, party and all that stuff aside, what's going on with you such that the same triggers happened, but you were triggered differently?
Well, like this is me getting super vulnerable on the pod, which is hard to do, to put yourself out there in any capacity creatively, but then to talk about, personal things that are going on that, because I'm a very much like a suffer in silence kind of person. But I don't remember if I think I might have talked about it a little bit, but like I've been coming off of my SSRIs that I've been on since I was 16. And I think that has made me a little bit more emotional, a little bit more anxious. And Cody and I are, super insanely in love still. And that nothing I say like changes that by any means, but we've had a hard time kind of connecting. And, like when you have kids and a job, and I think that's normal, to go through waves and a roller coaster of feeling really close to your partner and then feeling disconnected. And we've been feeling really disconnected the last probably month. And, this last week, it had been really good and we were connecting and we were having great sex and we felt like this new love for each other and it was great, but I still think I felt insecure maybe. And I didn't know I felt like this. I thought I felt fine. So it really just kind of like threw me through a loop, seeing that and feeling that way. And then I felt guilty for feeling that way. And I felt kind of gross feeling that way because I've always prided myself in not feeling jealousy. You know what I mean? Like I've always been like, "Oh, I'm such a cool girl because I don't feel jealous. Like Cody can do whatever he wants. Like I'm such a cool wife." And turns out like fuck, I guess I can feel jealous. I I can't I mean, and Cody's, dated other women and I felt little jealousies here and there, but I've never seen him play with somebody and walked in on it and been like, "I fucking hate this."
Yeah, but I don't think when you saw him do that in the past, I don't think your relationship was in question. So on one
Yeah.
side you have like, hey, we're going through this stuff in our relationship that's kind of in question, and on the other side, a single girl pops up, new girl, single, totally fresh, and while you might trust everyone else that's in the party or that's in the space in relationships, so like Cody could have hooked up with a single girl that you knew
Yeah.
where you weren't threatened by that person and you might have felt fine. Cody could have hooked up with someone who was in a relationship and you would have felt fine.
Mm-hmm.
But he hooked up with someone who was completely new, that was single at a point where your relationship is not the most stable it's been.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore the jealousy hits you differently.
Yeah. And
Because you never said like I don't feel jealous. You said jealousy turns me on.
yeah. Yeah. And what's interesting is like we've had sex every single day since then because like I'll relive it and I'll see it and I'll cringe and I'll be like, "Fuck, I fucking hate this." But then it does still turn me on at the same time. So it's two combating feelings. And I honestly feel like if the girl was properly introduced, if I had walked up and the conversation wasn't weird, if I it turns out she's 26, so she's not super young, but I would have guessed 21 by the way she was speaking, you know? If she had said, "Hi, my name is S, nice to meet you," anything. But I think coming back from the hospital, being anxious all day from the pain, not feeling particularly turned on, or else maybe I would have joined them, right? Like I didn't want to join them. So I think there's a lot of factors at play here, but I do honestly feel like if in that very short interaction when I had swam up, if she was like, "Hi, I'm S," I would have been like, "Oh, cool, okay, bye." Like it would have established a tiny bit of trust, right? But when I walk up to the conversation and she doesn't look or acknowledge me, and Cody didn't introduce us, which that's his own whatever, I think I would have felt differently, you know?
Maybe.
I don't know. Um, since
I
then,
think,
oh, go ahead.
Annie, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I bringing it back to like things that we've talked about on this podcast, talking about like what were was there something that you wish you would have done to hold your own boundaries in that moment? Um, you know what I mean? Like, is there a way you wanted to have, because maybe that's the cringy part of it, like reflecting back, but also like there is something to be said about these containers in these spaces where usually people have to come by a certain time in
Mm,
order to participate because it creates this feeling of trust and safety within the space. And like there was no introduction, like you said, whenever these girls showed up, and then there was no like, then you come to find out they've never been to a play party before, which means that do they know what a consent talk is? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of sort of layers that come about that kind of set up the situation for like, I don't trust this person, and deeper than that, in a way, like you couldn't trust the space anymore once that agreement was broken, right? And we talk about that a lot.
oh, 100%, 100%. Because you're right, Annie. Like they had a consent talk before the party began, and the host and her husband had this whole consent talk. And again, like there was no one there that had never been to a play party. But again, we still have our consent talks. It's still a good reminder. And they missed that. They weren't there for it. So they don't know what consent is. They don't know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. The friends that had invited these girls, like they were kind of MIA from the girls a lot too. So I think that part also definitely makes me feel away. And I it's not, yeah, maybe I didn't trust them, you know? Um, yeah, I
But
didn't trust them.
okay, so all of that stuff happened for sure. Like I think that when people usually when people come late to parties, it's people who are experienced, right? Like it's like, hey, Layla and Brian are coming. They're driving from LA. They're going to be here an hour late, but they've been to plenty of parties and they've done the consent talk before. It's
Mm,
not like, hey, it's our first time. We're going to let them skip out. It sounds like there were some boundaries there for sure. Like I think the host probably should have said no,
yeah.
right? Like if my job is to maintain this container, it is different if I show up 2 hours late and she's like, "Oh, hey Brian, what's up? Come on in." And
Yeah.
then when I get there, people recognize me, they're excited to see me versus like a new face, regardless of the gender and the relationship status. Like I think all
Hmm.
that stuff just kind of like, I think we're sprinkling stuff on there trying to grasp at things. And I don't think that was really the root cause of this. It sounds like you were going through a lot.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think it's like a little bit of a lot of things, which I think if it was just one thing, it would be a lot easier to digest and I wouldn't feel this. I don't know if like shame is the right word, or like I feel embarrassed, honestly. I feel really
Yeah.
embarrassed that I was not comfortable with it, you know? Because I mean, Cody goes off, he'll meet people on Tinder or whatever, and like chat with them for a little bit, and then hook up with them and come back, and then like that, one night stands, whatever. That's never bothered me. But yeah, this one just hit different. And you're right, Annie. Like I do wish the host was like, no, like that was a rule. The rule's been broken, and I'm sticking to it. You know. Um, so yeah,
Which is the job of the host. Like that's their job. So I
yeah,
definitely think that should have happened. I'm with you on that, and
yeah,
that's something you can chat with her about later.
yeah.
But then, like when it started happening, and you felt a certain type of way,
Mm.
like were you? I'm curious. Like I'm just going to ask some questions now. When you first hooked up with Cody, did you? Was there a point? Was there a part of you that felt like you really didn't want to play with anyone else that night? At that point,
At that point, yeah. At that point in the night, I, didn't really want to be touched by anyone else. I had intentions that day. Like Brian, as you know, like I was horny, I was ready to go. I had this fantasy that I had talked to some of the guys about, that I wanted a train of guys. And like I wanted each guy to spend like 10 seconds, da 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 da, next, da 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 da, next. Like that's kind of like a fantasy I created. So I had intentions. Like I was ready to go. And I think after the hospital and the pain all day, I was like, I just don't feel good. I don't want to. And Cody was feeling the same way. And he had expressed that to me when I had got there. He was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back. I really missed you. I needed my person. I'm playing a little bit, but I'm not really like super connected to anybody." So we were on this mutual plane that neither one of us are super connecting with anybody. So we'll play with each other. And it wasn't like a spoken agreement, right? Or like a boundary or anything, but it was kind of, to me, kind of this unspoken agreement. So I think that bothered me.
Unspoken agreements. Yeah. So like playing the tape back to there, why didn't you go could you have gone one step further and said, hey, let's just like call it, let's just have fun with each other tonight or play with
Not
each other?
necessarily, because if he had been like, I want to play with so and so, like a good friend of mine, or there's like, if he could have hooked up with anyone else there and it wouldn't have bothered me. But it was this girl, and because of everything I said, like that one, it hit different. So
yeah,
yes and no. If I had known that I was feeling a type of way, and I was, when they were connecting in the pool, I was feeling a kind of way. And that's when my friends were like, go talk to him. And that's when I was going to go up to him and set this agreement. And by the time I go up to him to try to set an agreement, the play had begun. So
okay.
Do you think it would have been appropriate in that moment during play to stop him and say, hey, I need to talk to you? Or is that completely inappropriate?
I think it's less about what's appropriate and what's not. What stopped you from saying something?
I didn't want to cause a scene. I didn't want to upset Cody, nor did I want to upset the girl, because it was her first play party and that was her first play experience at a party. And I didn't want to ruin it for her either, because it wasn't her fault. So like at what point do I put my feelings aside and say, this is something we can talk about later? And when do I need to listen to it in the moment and maybe make some people uncomfortable?
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't say anything because you didn't want to cause a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Subsequently, did you end up causing a scene?
No. It sounded like I did, but no. Because everyone was chill. Like no one asked us after, like, hey, what was that? Was that weird? But, because I was like, hey, Cody, come here. And then as soon as I was like, oh, Kyle wants to see you. Kyle wants to try something. Like, and then everyone was like, oh, okay. So there was no scene. No one had any idea that besides my friends upstairs, had any idea that I was like, not okay. Because again, I suffer in silence. So no one had any idea.
I don't believe you.
You don't believe me?
I don't.
What do you mean?
Because I just listened to you for like 20 minutes. Cody, listen, I love you, Layla. I'm just going to go here with you, all right? You said Cody was getting his dick sucked. You went upstairs. I don't know what your friends were doing, but then they had to listen to you. You said it was 15 minutes of you talking to them about how upset you were about the situation. And then at some point you go outside, you scream Cody's name. People turn their head to look at you. And then you kind of like tried to dig yourself out the hole and you threw Kyle under the bus in the process, right?
I know.
And so like, how is that not causing... I'm not saying you went and slapped her.
Right.
You didn't go choke her out or get mad. But like, here's all these people whose business it wasn't really what was going on with you and you in your mind at that point that got dragged into it. And so like on one hand, you had this opportunity to go and I'm not making you wrong. I'm just saying like, look at the framing. There was this opportunity to go say, hey, Cody, can we talk for a second? And then that's between just you, Cody, and the person sucking his dick. Versus the alternative, which was like bringing in everybody else. Not to make you wrong, I just want to like look at what could have happened and what happened, and that's why I'm asking what stopped you in that moment. And you said I didn't want to cause a scene, but like you ended up causing more. You brought more people in later because you didn't want to cause a scene in the first place.
But don't you think it would have been more of a scene if I like went up to him while they're doing it and I was like, hey, you need to stop and come here? And then people are noticing that like I'm going up to him and he's now leaving from this scene with this other person.
I don't think it's their business. And I also don't think you would go up and be like, hey, can you stop sucking that dick and come talk to me for a second? I don't think you would do it in a way that that like, hey, listen, hey, what's your name? S. Hey, it's nice to meet you. Can I just borrow my husband for a second? I just want to have a chat with him. And like she's like, oh yeah, cool. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
So I'm just
probably.
look at you. Layla does not Layla audience Layla is so mad. She does not want to hear this part right now, but
No, I'm just like
I'm just
clawing at
playing
my
it back.
skin because when you're in the heat of the moment, like, yeah, if I was of sound mind, maybe I would have done that. But I was so driven on emotion that I was trying to do the right thing while also like staying true to myself. And when you're in the heat of the moment with something, it's really hard to just try to dial that back in. And so
No
the
doubt.
second I said his name and I was like, Cody, I was like, oh, that was too much. That was too much. And I was like, come here. Oh, it's too much, too much. And I'm like, reel it back. And and to be fair, my friends did say that I could use them as like an excuse. So it wasn't throwing them under the bus. I was like, yeah, like they want to see you. We want to talk to you about something. Like,
I know, love. I know, but that was after you already brought them in on it. And so
yeah.
like while Cody's out there having fun, you're back there for 15 minutes. Like you're not talking shit about Cody, but like he's involved in some drama he doesn't even know about at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And like that kind of as a guy, like that would suck. If my wife was off like pissed off at me for doing something, I'd rather her come over and just like grab me and talk to me about it than like than express it to everybody else. So
So you would rather her come
that's
up to you while you're getting your dick sucked in the middle of it, like you're really enjoying it. You've really connected with this girl. You really like her. You would want for your wife to come up to you and to drag you out of it and talk to you as opposed to waiting for it to finish.
yes.
Okay.
Like not even and there's no debate on like my wife matters to me way more than whoever's in front of me sucking my dick at this point. And so at any if my wife had asked me, hey, let's not play tonight because I'm not feeling like myself and I feel out of it, I absolutely would have honored that agreement had that been brought to me. If my
Mm-hmm.
wife came over and asked me, hey, can you pause for a second? I need to talk to you. I would have dropped what I was doing and I would have gone there and spent time with my wife. And I think so there's a lot of situations in what I'm hearing you say, and I'm not trying to fix this. I'm really not, but I'm also coaching this week, so I'm already in coaching mode. And so I'm just saying there's a lot of there are a lot of places to say no and to pause it. And so if we're going to look at the host and be like, well, maybe they shouldn't have let them inside the door in the first place, then we also get to look at where did Layla, where did past Layla have an opportunity to say no? And I didn't, and I backed off. And why? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why did I, what made me not want to cause a scene? Was there a way to do it without causing a scene?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the growth and the power in this comes from that place. I think it's both like, you knew you weren't feeling great. What did you do with that? You were faced with this situation. What did you do with that? And if you could play it over again, how would you play it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll
No,
pause for a second. We can do a timeout and take a break.
no,
I know
I
I'm
mean,
coming at you hard. I love you.
no. This is good. This is good. What I would have done differently, because again, like it's not that I didn't want Cody to play and that I only wanted us to play together. If he had connected with somebody else that was there, while after I had gotten home, I would have been fine with that. But maybe while they were having their conversation and I was like, this conversation's kind of lame, like I probably should have maybe waited. I mean, either I don't know. I probably maybe should have interjected myself perhaps like into the conversation instead of being like, okay, this is lame. If I could tell that Cody was connecting with her and I was already uncomfortable with her being there, I probably should have introduced myself and maybe made myself more maybe available to play with both of them. So I think maybe that's what I would have done differently.
And I think that's growth right there. Just to say, hey, there's even one thing I could have done differently. I also think it's okay for you to be uncomfortable with someone and for you to ask your partner to honor that. I
So
think that's fine. I think sometimes we pretend like, hey, if we're going to play parties, the true security would be my partner can play with whoever they want, and I'm okay with that. And sometimes it might show up like that, but other times, like security is also telling your partner, hey, this situation over here doesn't make me feel easy tonight. On most nights, I'd feel fine with that, but tonight, like I'd really appreciate it if you just played with people that we know because I feel this way, and I think that's
you're right.
okay.
You're
You
totally
know,
right. And I would like to invite you, Brian, to put yourself in my shoes for a second, if we can. Okay. So
for sure.
imagine you're here. They're acquaintances. You're not feeling super connected to anybody. Your wife is kind of feeling the same way. you go to the hospital, you've been in pain all day, whatever, you come back, you're not feeling super playful. And in the middle of the party, two single guys that have never been to a party show up, and your wife really connects with one of them, and you're kind of uncomfortable. And then you are like, this guy is really lame, right? You're hearing some things he's saying, and you're just kind of like, he's kind of not for us or for me. And then you go back outside and you see your wife sucking his dick. Would you feel a certain way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, this is really tough, Layla, because I would have done a lot of things differently. So like it would like there's no just if you want to put it back on me, there is no universe in which my wife would let me go to the hospital by myself for 4 hours. Like there's this that when we just play it, but there's no way, even if I told her I was fine, she's not going to stay at a play party by herself while I'm at a hospital. So like back to square one,
Okay.
that it just would have been differently. So then we would have been together. We would have stayed connected. I also think in that situation, if I felt uncomfortable with some people, I would have said something to my wife, or I might have said something to that person, depending on the situation. But, we've talked about this on past podcasts. Like I'll fight people, like I've definitely caused scenes before over boundaries. Right.
Yeah.
So that's neither here nor there. But I think I would say that, yeah, if random people showed up, I'd already be on alert, and I would have talked to my wife about, like, I'll give you an example. We were at a play party the other day, and I noticed that some people were having sex without condoms. No one asked me to have sex without a condom, and no one was asking to have sex without a condom. I went and proactively grabbed my wife out of a conversation she was having, pulled her aside, and I was like, here's something I'm noticing. People are having sex without condoms. I just want you to know that, so that we are both prepared to answer this question when it happens, because it's going to pop up later. And I think that for me, like, it doesn't, and then my wife can go back to the conversation that she was having if she wants to. It's not like, it's kind of weird. Like my focus on the we of me and my partner is always paramount for me, and like everything else outside of that is kind of like secondary. So I'm
Yeah.
using hand gestures right now. I don't know if people can see that, but like this is me and my wife, this is everybody else. So like
Yeah.
I'll bring it back in.
Yeah.
I think that, but I am generally more combative than you. Like I like box for fun, right? So I went to Equinox the other day. I was punching a punching bag by myself, and I had a mouthpiece in, because sometimes I hit myself in the face when I get too aggressive. So this is part of my weirdness, huh?
That's like so symbolic.
Like sometimes the jab comes back too fast, I hit myself in the face. I have to wear a mouth guard around me. You're not that person, and I get you're like, I wanna, man, how do I want to say this?
I want to be cool.
I think you want to be cool. You want to have it put together. You want to be like the girl who doesn't get jealous. But what's happening is like inside of you. So then like on the outside, you want to look stable, but on the inside, there's a hurricane going on.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm saying, like, I'm putting myself in your shoes. Like when I have felt that hurricane going on in me at parties specifically, I'll sit on it, and then I'll grab my wife and I'll have a conversation with my wife. It doesn't mean she's going to agree with me. She might push back on me. She might tell me I'm feeling insecure in this moment. It doesn't always go well, but at least it's just me and her.
Yeah. And
is this supportive at all? Because I'm like,
No,
I'm telling you how I would think about it.
It is. And I think that, I don't know if it's because I'm, getting off of my medication. I don't know if I'm like just feeling regular life feelings that maybe I just haven't felt since I was 16, and if it's just, because I always thought I had an anxiety disorder, and we think it's just ADHD now. And now I'm like, fuck, maybe I do have an anxiety disorder, or maybe it's just regular anxiety, which is what everybody has. And I've never really had to work through that before. And I had to work through it at a very interesting time in my life and a very interesting circumstances. Cody nor I ever pull each other during parties and, check in with each other. If we do, it's, hey, having fun? Cool. Me too. See you around. like that's really it. So like I'm hearing you say, maybe check-ins, like a little bit of a deeper check-in might be important and maybe necessary, because new feelings might arise, and instead of just feeling shame for it and embarrassed and just not saying anything, I need to be more transparent with Cody about it in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he wants depth anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was telling me, like, as I was telling him how I was feeling, and I was like crying, and I was like telling him, and he was like, honestly, you're making me so hard right now.
So turned on. Yeah, for sure. Dude, I fuck my wife so, like, if she cries, after my wife cries, I fuck her so good.
Yeah, that's how Cody was feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
vulnerability. So yeah, like like when we're not vulnerable, we'll go to anger. Or like
Yeah.
some people go to anger, some people go to depression, some people go to this other thing. But like, look, man, you're Layla, like you changed a lot at the same time.
Mhm.
And I want you to give yourself some grace for that too. Like you went and proactively made the decision to like take yourself off this med, and you stopped vaping, and you did like you went to the gym, which I'm pumped about. Can we
Mhm.
see some muscles, Layla?
Oh God.
Can we see a muscle? Yeah. Look at those
There's like no
armpits too,
muscle.
Annie. Oh my god. We'll talk about my armpit fetish later. You changed a lot, and then you went to like a really uncomfortable situation, and you weren't perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm also usually kind of like, I feel like I'm really good about making people feel comfortable and making people, I mean, I feel like that would have, like, this party was my element because a lot of people were kind of shy, and I wanted to be like, hey, come over here, let's go do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's usually kind of what I do. And instead, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I'm not. I'm not.
I know. And then life was like, fuck you. You had plans. Here you go.
Yep.
Earwax, bitch.
Yeah.
How are
Yeah.
you going to handle this, right?
Right.
Another curveball. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, but I learned a lot just by being there and talking things out with Cody and like talking to you guys. I know what I need to do differently when we had, and I'm still jealous, and I'm still like, it wasn't just that day or that night. Like, the next day we woke up and I was like, did she reach out to you? Like, did she find you? Did she find your socials? Like, I've never talked to Cody like this in the 12 years we've been together. Never. I'm like, what? Do you love her? Like, do you want to make her your girlfriend? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, make it stop, And literally, like, every day since then, I'm like, has she reached out to you? He's like, no. I was like, what? Do you want to reach out to her? And I was like, what are your intentions with her? Because I could tell he liked her, And I was like, what, do you want to make her your girlfriend? He's like, Layla, fucking stop. He's like, honestly, I thought maybe she could be a fun unicorn for us. And yeah, we connected. I thought maybe I could take her to dinner. Like she lives in San Diego, so it's not far from us. So like maybe it's another, we have some comet partners. So maybe she could be like a comet partner. Like he's starting to, create these fantasies of what this girl could be while I'm like hating her for no reason, And so the last couple of days I'll check myself and I'll tell him, I'm like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at her. I don't know what I'm mad at, but I'm fucking mad, And to make matters a tiny bit worse, I'll ask him kind of playful questions like, how did it start? Because usually like when I hear the story, it kind of turns me on, and it did turn me on, right? So I'm asking him like specifics. How did it start? Oh, we started kissing, and I fingered her, and she came, and da-da-da. And I'm hearing this, and I'm like, oh fuck, you fingered her? She came? Oh, like it's never happened in my life. Like it's like I was brand new to lifestyle. And then I was like, was the blowjob good? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, fuck, it was amazing, wasn't it? And he was like, it was pretty good. I was like, could she deep throat? And he was like, yeah. I was like, fuck. And I was like, damn it, because I can't deep throat his dick. Like, I just can't. It's just not in my anatomy. And so I'm like, fuck. So like, not only did he super connect with her, it was a great blowjob. He wants to see her again. Like all of these things that I was just like, God, it was just like one thing after another,
Layla,
And she sounds like she's like the perfect unicorn. She's like the perfect person for Cody to get to know. Like everything is lined up. And I've wanted Cody to have a girlfriend. I've said that. I want Cody to connect with someone and have a girlfriend. I want all these things. And yeah, maybe it's because we haven't been super connected this last month. Like we've had, bouts of like whatever. But And I know that that's got to be part of it. But again, I really think if it was anybody else and the situation was different, I'd be like, go for it. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. You're probably feeling threatened by this person a bit. I mean, do you want me to take
How
her off your hands?
embarrassing. I'm like
Do you want me
threatened
to
by a
do,
girl?
do you want me to take her off your hands? I can help.
No.
Because she sounds
No.
horrible, and I think I like
No,
we'll
she's
take her.
great. Like she's super
Yeah.
hot and
I
she
think,
like
look, so what do you want to do? Do you want to have a conversation with the girl and like give her a shot? Because she's kind of like the innocent party in this whole thing. Um, do you want to just like give her a shot? Do you want to tell him to back off? How do you want to handle it?
well in the beginning, like that night, I was like, never talk to her again, never add her on socials. I don't want anything to do with her. You will never see her again. Which felt so gross to say because Cody's never heard me talk like that. So I felt super gross about that. And then the next day, we're better, but like a little bit of arguing here and there just about the situation. And I was like, I'll pull her up right now. I'll pull up her socials. And I sent him a screenshot of her Instagram. I was like, add her, talk to her, like go for it. But it was combative. Like I went at it in an aggressive approach as opposed to being genuine. And and then like I think about it more and I feel more genuine about allowing him to reach out to her and maybe like us three could go get dinner and maybe we could like check the vibe and but I still don't know how I'm like am I about to put myself in a situation that isn't good? Like do I need to just be like, hey, let's just take a and Cody was like, do we need to take a lifestyle break? Do we need to take a party break? Do we need to take a poly break? Like do we need to just take a break from everything? And I'm like, no, that's not what I want, and I know that that's not what you want. Maybe it's what we need, I don't know, but I don't want to think the way I'm thinking. I don't
Yeah.
want to take a break, but is that the right thing to do? I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like you have more conversations to have.
Annie,
Like, look,
please, yeah.
like it's okay to take a beat on this though. Like you're not like don't treat her like she is this, like don't put her on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Like there's more opportunities for you to have fun with people, and you don't have to put this amount of strain on yourself or your own psyche again while you're getting used to this new normal for you.
Yeah.
You know.
Annie, what do you want to say?
I have a couple things. One is before we started recording, you said, I never take one for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like when you're recapping the story, you took many ones for the team. Like in a way that maybe isn't because usually whenever we say it on this podcast, we're talking about sex, right? We're talking about actual play. We're not talking about like not wanting to cause a scene. We're not talking about like feeling uncomfortable and not saying anything because you want your partner to have a good time, even though their priority is you and your priority is them, right? And it just like that with like kind of coming into your new self-image, right? Feeling all these feelings and doing all these things. It's almost like probably the check-in with Cody is absolutely necessary during these parties, but also checking in with yourself to be like, am I taking one for the team right now in a way that's not just play?
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Yeah, no, that's a super good point. And like another aspect I think too is like I haven't seen Cody really connect with another girl in a really long time. And the last time that he really connected with somebody, it was with Cammie. And it happened so fast. Like after a week, they were telling each other that they were in love with each other and that they were like soulmates in another life and like all this crazy shit that just, was fucking hard, and it was crazy, and it was also wonderful and great at the same time. But like, I'm not ready for that right now. Like I couldn't take that right now. And so maybe I was triggered and it just kind of brought me back to that place. And it's almost like my body and my mind knew that I couldn't handle that. And I just panicked. It's almost like I was watching him with her and I was like, they're in love. They're soulmates. He's going to run off into the sunset with her. And I was creating these crazy scenarios in my head, So I don't know.
Yeah. And that is not on her.
No.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like you can give yourself a beat here to figure this stuff out. And while you're doing that, you don't have to keep exposing yourself to the trigger.
Yeah.
because she's just like the new person. Like it could be someone else. Even if you let this one go, there could be another one in like 3 months, another one in 6 months. I think it's here for you to learn from it and this new norm for you. And so that's exciting. And I get it's painful, but you got this. But I think it would be fair for you to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're
I don't give a
right.
shit about being right. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel stable and safe.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and Cody's been so wonderful and loving towards me since we've gotten back. And, he said, he was like, I feel a little loved that you feel jealous, which I understand. Like I can relate to that too. Like he's like, I feel loved. I'm sad that you're sad. But I think it was good for him to see that I still would be devastated to lose him in any capacity. And like, I think that was good for him to see. And you guys are right. Like I need to give myself more grace and take a beat. And, like the last couple of play parties I've gone to, like I haven't really wanted to play. And I don't know, like maybe I will take a little break, or just be more aware of like the guest list. And like Brian, this is what you do is like you'll see the guest list and you'll reach out to people individually and be like, hey, I want to play with you, and then just kind of going in there with like different intentions and expectations might feel better than just kind of floating in there and being like, I don't really connect with anybody.
Yeah, I also look at the guest list to see if there's anyone I'm uncomfortable with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to talk to your wife and you guys go like,
Exactly.
let's steer clear of this. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And
That's
her
what-
too. And her too. Her list is actually longer for me than mine is for her. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
We can talk about it. Would be beyond, like, in spite of what it might seem like on this podcast, my my list is shorter. So we should do a follow-up episode, I think, about breaks, like taking a break, what that looks like, coming back from a break, because I think it happens a lot. And I'll think about some people who I know who took a break effectively, intentionally, and then came back and like seemed stronger when they came back.
Yeah.
I
I'd love
think
to
that
hear
might be worthwhile.
Yeah.
Layla, that was juicy. Thanks for opening up with all of us.
I love you guys. Thank you.
Man, so we'll nip it in the butt there, but thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll have you back for another podcast. We'll definitely follow up with Layla about what she's going through, because I think that was really juicy, and I think a lot of us can relate to it more than you think, Layla.
Yeah.
So until we see you next time, try something or try someone new, and don't think it's always going to go great.
And try someone new if everybody has consented to.
Yes, and make sure there was consent. Make sure everyone knew they were new.
Right.
Bye, guys.